it's Valerie. I'm so excited that you're back here with us today. Today we are talking about Psalm chapter 8. You know, this is just a beautiful, very reflective psalm. And David begins by looking externally at creation, and that drives him to a place where he's looking internally at his own humanity. And somehow the two together, they lead him to this place where he is just full of wonder and awe. It leads him to this place of worship. You know, sometimes the biggest spiritual questions we have in life, they come from the simplest of moments, like stepping outside and taking a look at the night sky. You see how vast it is. You see the universe. You see all the stars, and you can't help but wonder, where do I fit in relation to all of this? Like, who am I that the God who created all of this would even care about the little details of my life? And what I love about Psalm chapter 8 is David doesn't allow his feeling small for that moment to keep him in a place of smallness. It actually, as the psalm unfolds, we're going to see some very beautiful things revealed about God and humanity. And that's the journey I want to go on today, because understanding who God is, who God reveals himself to be through Scripture, helps us to see ourselves correctly. It helps us to know who we are. It's about identity. So I'm so excited to dive into this today. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. Hey guys, I'm here with my friend Ginger, and today we are talking about Psalm chapter 8. I absolutely love this psalm. I think it's a beautiful reflection of David, where he's looking externally at creation and internally at his humanity. And it just leads into this place of wonder and awe and worship. So today, Ginger, why don't you go ahead and read Psalm chapter 8? And we're just going to have some real conversations about who God is revealing himself to be in this passage.
Okay.
All right.
Lord, our Lord, how magnificent is your name throughout the earth. You have covered the heavens with your majesty. From the mouths of infants and nursing babies, you have established a stronghold on account of your adversaries, in order to silence the enemy and the avenger. When I observe your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you set in place. What is a human being that you remember him? A son of man that you look after him? You made him little less than God and crowned him with glory and honor. You made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all the sheep and oxen, as well as the animals in the wild, the birds of the sky, the fish of the sea, that pass through the currents of the seas. Lord our God, how magnificent is your name throughout the earth.
That's good. So when I read this psalm, I immediately saw that there was a tension between different types of smallness that people can feel. What we see here with David is his feeling small in relation to the vastness of God's creation actually drew him to a place of being more connected to God. It drew him closer to God. In humility, he is like lowering himself before God, but he also, it's this place of the God who created all of this still cares about me. He knows my name. He knows about all the different details of my life, and he still calls me his child. But there's another kind of smallness as well, and I think we're going to get into that some today. But the kind of smallness that I experienced in life was womb-based smallness, and it actually pushed me away from God. And in fact, it made me feel unworthy and inferior, and those feelings of unworthiness and feeling inferior to everyone can actually erase you, that feeling of unworthiness.
And that's really what the devil's after.
That's right.
He's after you feeling small in a way, because it's all these big things. Why would he
care about me?
Care about you? Why would he give you authority?
I'm just a speck on the face of the earth.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah.
We're everything to him. We're his purpose.
That's right.
You know, we have a purpose, but we're his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I was reading it, and I made notes all in my Bible because I have a journal Bible. When I grew up, I have to tell this really fast. When I grew up, you didn't write in the Bible.
Oh yeah, right.
You did not mark in it. And so I bought this journal Bible, and I'm like, even when I write in it today, this little girl shows up and says, it's okay. You can write in your Bible. So, but I said, God is always showing and giving us strength. Because when he talks about you have covered the heavens with your majesty from the mouths of infants and nursing babies, he's talking about the small things. He's talking about the innocent things. He's talking about, us and how fragile we are, but he's always giving us the strength through him. And we'll get to that, but it always points to Christ. And you and I talk about this a lot. Like, this verse points to Christ so strong to me, because it's like, without him, heaven would be empty. So we know that's where we get that strength, and without him, we just can't do it on our own. And you were pointing that out too.
Yes. So the wound-based smallness that I felt, it led me to this place of I'm not enough, and I want to explain that a little bit, because as Christians, we know we're not enough. It's Christ in us,
absolutely,
who is the hope of glory. But the kind of I'm not enough that I'm referring to is this tension of always trying to be the source of my own whatever. Like, whatever I need in my life, I'm looking to myself as a source. And when I make myself the standard, then I'm not enough. I'm always going to fall short. And so throughout today, that's what I'm referring to when I say these feelings of I'm not enough. It's this smallness that drives us away from God. I think about Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis, right? When sin entered on the scene, and what we see is that this not understanding who they were and having this incorrect view of themselves, because that's what happened when sin entered the scene. All of a sudden, they go to having an incorrect view of themselves in relation to God, the Creator. That incorrect view led to insecurity. They no longer feel safe and secure in God.
They're hiding.
They're hiding, and it just drives this wedge. And it's just this ripple effect.
And it teaches us to hide, not just in that case, it's such an innocent thing, because that is when it all happened. But you think about things that we hide from each other as friends, because we don't want to be vulnerable. And it's so important that we stay connected.
That's it.
And that we're having these conversations and sharing these conversations.
Anytime I feel like I have to prove my worth is usually a great indicator that I have lost connection with my identity. I lived most of my life with an identity crisis. I lived most of my life in this space of this wound-based smallness, this mentality. And it led me to a place of self-destruction. Just all these self-destructive behaviors.
Well, because you're hurting yourself. You're telling yourself. And coming from you is powerful. So many people, like, in this moment, you're discrediting yourself, but yet you're taking this, advice about yourself. So in the same sentence, you are devaluing yourself, but then accepting that value. Like,
we are made overcomers not only by the blood of the Lamb, but by the words of our testimonies, and they help others overcome.
Absolutely.
People look. One of the things that Tom and I decided, you've heard me say this before, in 2018, we decided that we would never be ashamed about our previous life. There would be no shame. That we would flip the script on the enemy, we would flip the boat, capsize it, and we would use what the enemy meant for evil for the furthering of the kingdom of heaven, to populate heaven, plunder hell. And so that, I think, has become part of this testimony that God has given me as well, that as he gives me the courage, fear is a muzzle that Satan tries to use to silence us.
And shame.
Absolutely. And so I will not be ashamed because of the blood of Christ, because of this God of this vast universe who looked down through all of space and time, and he saw me right here in this moment, and he knew all of the things that I would do leading up to this moment, because he's sovereign. And he still chooses me. See, that is
and he shows us that.
That's right.
Over and over through all of this, through Moses, through David, when anytime he was going to be mocked or denied, he knew. But he still showed up, he still loved, and he still brought them home.
What does that tell you about a God who chooses to remain? no matter what?
To me, I go back to, and I have a default button of God is love.
Mhm.
No matter what you do or where you are, and I think that's actually some of these notes. It's also where you are, because when we're talking about this, He will meet you there. He already knew you would be there in the pits and reach up, and He would grab you, wash you clean, bring you home. And he shows us that over and over and over and over. Why we don't believe it is mind blowing to me, because He shows it and puts it out there all the time. Like I want you home with me. I want a relationship with you.
Do you think
I made all these great things, the birds, and I'm going to give you dominion over it because it's for you.
And if I care for them so intricately, can't you see that I care for you even more? Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It is. So, go ahead. Talk to me about what else God showed you.
So, the next notes I made were all strength and power is through Him, but He will use the innocent and small and everything. And I actually think I addressed that a moment ago. And then it said, I put God loves us and gives us glory and honor above everything on earth. He gives us Jesus, who is also born a little baby, a little nursing baby, to come from a man, to be the Son of Man of God, as a man, the Son of God, to die for us, to unite us. He goes through so many things to bring us back to Him, to the point, He sends His Son as a little baby in this earth that He knew would hurt Him, mock Him, hang Him, kill Him. And I think to myself, that's how much He loves us. Would you send?
And He would have done it if we were the only
I wouldn't send one of my children to the store if I knew they weren't coming back.
That's right.
I just, so His love is just so powerful, and it never changes no matter what you do. That was one of the other things that I got from this. It's like, yes, I created all this. All this stuff is beautiful. It's wonderful. I want you to enjoy it. I actually want you to have it. It's for you. It's yours. He wants us to, through relationship, take care of that and honor Him with that and trust Him with that. But He wants us to choose that.
Do you think the breakdown, the disconnect for us, even as Christians at times, do you think the disconnect is we don't have a trouble believing it?
Or even telling people.
But when it comes to ourselves personally, we have an issue with fully trusting it.
Oh, yeah.
We know that Abraham believed God. But how many times? I mean, you've got the 3-ring circus with Hagar and Sarah and Abram, and them just trying to help God out. They believed that God made a promise, but the disconnect was they failed to fully trust it, and so they got in there and kind of
and just disobedient. There's things that we have to do when we trust and we have faith, and then comes that, well, wait a minute, how do I want to do that?
Yeah.
And so there's selfishness there too.
Yeah. Do you think that the way that we see God has everything to do with our perception of who God is? Like, what I mean by that is we can't know our true identity and see ourselves the way God sees us if we don't really know who He is to begin with. That we're living in this age of just identity crisis. We see it everywhere we look. I mean, we're telling our kids they can identify as animals. We're telling girls they can be boys, and boys they can be girls. It's a massive identity crisis, and
on many, many levels.
Yeah, and so that goes to seeing ourselves incorrectly, but that's rooted in not knowing who God is.
And that's why I have that default. God is love, and He He instructed us above everything else, all the commands, love one another.
Right.
Because He knew what this world was gonna do to all of us, and try to harm us, and if we would just love one another, but knowing that He is love, and knowing that He loves you, and knowing you can run home no matter where you are, or what you're doing or how deep your sin has gotten. And the Father is going to just take you in his arms. And I have to default to that because to me, that is who he is. All these other things that the world says can distort. And that's where I think we are when you're talking about people having changing their sexuality or trying to become, not even human anymore. It's like, no, that, the world just distorts it so heavily.
Yeah.
Come to him.
Right.
He is love. And it doesn't matter if you've had some type of alteration to your body. He still wants you.
That's right.
Because again, you are his purpose.
That's right.
You are his treasure. He wants you in heaven.
And the Creator sets the value of the created. I think we live in a
Absolutely.
culture that is trying to redefine what God was only ever meant to
Well, I think
define.
that's why he, I just read that part to you about Jesus. I think that's really one of the things that is so important about that is he sent his son here as a human to show that example of this is a human being and he's going to go through the same things you guys go through.
Yeah. What has seeing yourself incorrectly, where has that led you in life?
Oh, hell, living hell, in my mind, or making bad decisions, self-destruction, not thinking I'm good enough,
right?
Taking myself out of a situation because, even when and by the way, thank you for asking me to do this, because even when you asked me to do this, my first thought was, I'm not qualified to get on a podcast and talk to, I've never been on a podcast, and I thought, I'm not qualified for that. And I thought that is straight from the devil. I am qualified because God gave me a brain, a mouth, the personality, and he lets me read.
And we're created in his image. I went through the same feelings of insecurity even a couple of years ago when I first started doing what I'm doing. I started pursuing my degree in biblical theology, and I started writing, and I held this dream of a YouTube channel and a podcast for a year and a half. And you come to this place where it's like, why not me?
Right.
I'm created in the image of God to know him, to walk in freedom and dominion, to discover purpose. My main purpose is to bring him glory and honor in all the assignments that he places before me. But ultimately, it's to make a difference, to make an impact, to let people know that they are not the only ones, to open up and be a mouthpiece, or to be a funnel that God pours through, to reach humanity. Humanity is the heart of the cross. It was the reason for it all.
Absolutely.
And Satan knows that. And so I think he tries to cripple us so often. I know for me personally, seeing myself incorrectly. And let me just say this. A lot of people are like, no, you're not supposed to elevate self. You're supposed to humble yourself. Okay, seeing yourself correctly in relation to who your father is not about being arrogant.
Right.
You cannot possibly live life according to scripture if you're viewing yourself through incorrect theology or through wounds. And that's what Satan helps.
Well, and that I was going to say, the minute you start being that mouthpiece is when someone or the devil is going to plant a seed that says, well, who do you think you are?
That's right.
I'm a child of God. That is who I am.
He never thought I'd talk back.
And I have power because of him.
That's right.
If it's just me, I am a weak little babbling baby. A nursing little baby. Whining and crying and having all these needs. But if I am standing tall and hearing and listening to him, and that he gave us that.
Yeah.
It says right here in this psalm that we just read.
That's right.
That he gave us that.
The first time I was ever invited to speak at a women's conference, I was shaking from the inside out because I was like, oh my gosh. But I had enough courage that God had given me that I said yes, and I spent the better part of 3 months preparing one message. I had the message pretty quick. It was just, I kept going over it and over it.
You were afraid.
And that is when I took a sticky note and I wrote on it, fear is a muzzle that Satan will use to try to silence you. And I stuck it on the mirror over my desk, and I would read it every time I sat down to write or to listen to a lecture or to prepare something to remind myself. And even with this podcast, it was just like God is saying, what are you waiting on? I was like, well, I don't really have anyone to do it with me. He's like, and what are you waiting on?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Not me. The Lord. Although I am here. I'm not a figment of anyone's imagination.
But it's, I just kept coming up with excuses. I was like, I don't have fancy microphones, and I just have my phone. He's like, what are you waiting on?
Yeah, he gives us the tools. And I think, I'm so glad you said that, because that was something else I saw in this.
Yeah.
He gives us the tools. He's talking about everything on this earth.
Yeah.
The sun, the moon, the stars, the seas,
Right.
the fish, the birds, he covers it all and says, it's yours. And so he does. He gives us that.
It's a good God, isn't he?
He is.
I think, as we've already discussed, that insecurity comes from seeing ourselves incorrectly. It's the core idea of, if I don't feel worthy internally, I will try to earn and prove my worth externally. And my life, a lot of my story,
Yeah.
but it led to a lot of people pleasing, a lot of inappropriate behaviors, addictions, trying to fill that void and that emptiness with substance, people, things.
Well, if I'll just do this, then they'll finally be
That's
happy.
right. I'll finally be included. I'll finally be accepted.
They'll love me if I do this.
Rejection.
And
yeah,
right.
so it makes you a person who never says no. You say yes to even things that you may have personal convictions about, which was the story of my life. I think when I look back at what the genesis of all this seeing myself incorrectly was, obviously we know it's just the result of a broken world. Sin entered the picture, and this is the impact of sin. That's why we needed Jesus. But in my own family, it's as if it's generational. It's as if it was there from the womb. Even as a child, I would experience this always feeling inferior, rejection, not feeling like I measured up.
And that's not to discredit our parents. They were
No.
human. They were human too.
That's
I
right.
have wonderful parents, grandparents, great grandparents.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with them, because I came out of the womb feeling this way. It's steeped in generations.
And when you read this, it talks about, recently I forgot what I was reading, maybe Deuteronomy, where it's talking about 10 generations is what it ended up affecting. And I thought, Bruce and I were talking about it, and I said, 10 generations. I think I've only met 6 generations of my family.
Mm-hmm. And so I go back and I cover
wild.
that in prayer, but also when I'm praying for my children and my grandchildren, I'm praying for 1,000 generations to come, that these strongholds, these generational things are broken by the evidence of the blood of Christ that's been presented in the courtroom of heaven. That is all the evidence that's needed. But when I was thinking back to this, just became a filter that began to shape and form my life, because every choice and decision was made through this. And I was like, even though it has been there from birth, where was a defining moment? I wanted to identify defining moments that really triggered it to fully rear its ugly head. Like what was it? Because something happened. And I remember being 18 years old, and I was a senior in high school, and I found myself expecting my daughter. And so vividly, I remember one Saturday we're riding to Opelika to a family gathering, and for some reason I rode with my grandparents, and my dad's mom was driving, and my grandfather was in the front seat, and it's old blue car, the big ones, and so I'm stretched out across the whole back seat. I even remember what I was wearing.
Isn't that wild how the details?
I do. And it's interesting, because in the moment that what I'm going to tell you happened, I didn't realize the intensity and the power of the seeds that were planted that would grow into these roots that began to not only reinforce the worst of what I already believed to be truth about myself, but it just began to build this layer upon layer upon layer of just one bad choice after another. But my grandfather just, and I don't want to talk bad about him. They came from a different time. Their convictions were a little bit different, but he just, as if it were nothing, shifted his body and turned his head over his shoulder. So he's looking at me in the back seat, and he said, "You'll have to settle for whoever will have you now, because no one's going to want someone like you." And I honestly did not realize. It's almost like I was shielded a little bit, although the arrow punctured and it went in, and these seeds of self-doubt and seeing myself incorrectly, they just began to really reproduce. It's almost like the conditions were perfect for it because of everything I had done leading up into that point. But once that happened, that was the tipping point of the next 25 years of my life.
Wow.
So
that's powerful, though.
It's so important we see ourselves correctly.
Right, because you could have said, well, that isn't true. But in that moment, and coming from your grandfather. Yeah.
And just another example of how it played out.
I mean, my grandfather would tell us, like, of course, now $1 million is not that. I mean, it's a lot of money. But he used to say, you know, you're worth $1 million every time.
I tell my grandbabies, the 2 older ones, I text them several times a week, and I tell them on their way to school, I'm like, just remember, you're a leader, so I want you to lead well. I want you to find someone to be kind to today, because it just may be the very thing that turns everything around for them. I said, but I want you to know, you are beautiful, you are loved, you are intelligent, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. I want them to believe in themselves. And you know, you try to put cookies on the bottom shelf and reach them kind of right where they're at, but I didn't feel worthy, and
so then you start to settle.
Well, and that's because my worthiness was rooted. I was my source. God was not my source, so of course I wasn't enough. But I can remember also just if we go back to generational strongholds and being born feeling inferior and insecure. I remember singing in church. I sang a lot in church, and I can remember being a teenager. We used tracks, and if I got an atta girl, great job, such a blessing, then I felt on top of the world. But if nobody said anything, that automatically equated to you're not good. What my heart and my mind heard was, you're not good, sit down and shut up, nobody wants to hear you.
We do try to get our value from others, and not that other people, because everybody is human. So, you know, even like your grandfather saying that, having no idea how that was going to make you feel. Yeah. And he may have actually been angry. He may have felt disappointment.
Sure. And he's entitled to feel. Right.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, you know, we say and do things, but that's, if you, again, like you've mentioned time and time again in this podcast and time again in our friendship, know who you are.
That's right.
Know who you're rooted in. Because if you know that, then you can say, oh, I am good enough. Yeah. You're not looking to
because
other
the blood
people.
Of Christ is applied.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what makes me good enough.
Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with...
He's my source.
It doesn't have anything to do with Ginger and how great she thinks you are, because I could see you one day and be totally in a different frame of mind and just be like, oh, hey, Val, it's good to see you, and walk off, and you may think, oh, well, what's that? Because Ginger's always happy and hugging and wanting to talk. But because we're human, so we don't need to get that validation from each other. We need to remind each other. Yeah. You know, get that from God. I love that you send them that message and let them know, because they need to remember, but they also need to know where that comes from.
Well, and one important thing I would like to add there for the grandmas that are listening, our 4 grandbabies are in the Tampa Bay area. They don't live close. I only get to see them in person a couple of times a year, and I'm grateful for video calls. But sometimes we can think that because we don't have a lot of quantity of time with them, that we can't possibly make a spiritual impact in their lives. And let me tell you, you 100% can. It's not about the quantity, but the quality of time, but it's also about praying every single day, speaking Jesus over them. I ask God to seal them with a kiss of heaven every day, to keep them safe, to keep them protected, to be with them, to put them in situations where they have an opportunity to be kind to others, to be an example. But to, this crazy world we live in, mostly,
and our children still, even though they're adults, and I love that you say sealed with a kiss of heaven. I say, Lord, wrap your arms around them, let them know, let them feel you, because this world is cruel. And as we do get older, we do start to look back, and it's just a different perspective. We see it totally different than we did even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So to be able to be that for our grandchildren and remind them, but also our children by example. I mean, just when you and Tom are together, or even if he's not with you and you're visiting with them, the way you're communicating with him, the way you communicate with your daughter,
absolutely,
it shows through. Because if you're, again, aligned with who created you and why.
That's right. And it goes back to that core understanding that in Genesis, God created humanity, and then he looked at humanity and said, it is good. After all of his creation, he looked at it and said, it is good. And so my question is, identify who told you you weren't good enough. Good enough in that you understand your worth and your value, your identity comes from Christ.
And sometimes that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would say, when you do identify with that, start with forgiveness.
Yeah.
Start forgiving yourself for accepting it, number one, and forgive those people, because they're human too.
Yeah.
And we just never know where someone is in their journey.
Right.
And when I say that, it could be, today I'm in a hurry because I'm going to go get my grandbabies. We're going to the beach, and I am excited, so I could run in the grocery store and not even see somebody, and they'll say, well, I saw you in the grocery store, and I'll say, well, why didn't you say something? Well, you look like you in a hurry.
You are a lady on a mission.
We immediately, though, start thinking, well, that she just didn't even want to talk to me.
Well, when you're insecure, you make everything about yourself, because you are your source.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, we do, and we make ourselves more important than we are. We think everything's about us, and that's because God's not.
Although we don't believe that.
So,
if
I stop and really sit with it, I don't believe it.
Right.
But those feelings lead to wrong emotions. but yeah, I put here that Psalm 8 reminds us that our worth isn't something that we achieve. It is something that God has already given, so you don't earn it. David says, you crowned him with glory and honor. That means we receive it. Our identity, our worth, our value is something that when we become born again, we're all created in the image of God, right?
Yep.
But when we become a son and a daughter of God, when we have the rebirth through Jesus, then we receive it. That's our identity. It's who we are.
Well, picture a ceremony where he's putting a crown on you.
Can you fathom that?
The
The imagery of the words that David uses, it kind of helps you see. And it's amazing how something so simple, the simplest things, like walking outside and looking at that creation, looking at the stars that are innumerable, you can't count them all. Something so simple can lead to such a profound internal reflection.
The beauty
of it. Do you think,
and how big it is? In my mind I sometimes go, you can't stretch enough to see.
Well, I wasn't even planning on saying this, but do you think that the distracted world we live in keeps us from those moments where we slow down enough to look at the vast creation of God and realize through this internal reflection of who we are in relation to God?
Absolutely.
We live in such a distracted time. Like, how many of us are just going outside and looking up at the stars for 30 minutes? Or
Or just taking time to appreciate what is going on around you.
That's right.
I was at small group last night, and the leader of that, I won't say a name just because of us being on the podcast, but she said that going outside and like grounding yourself and just letting yourself hear 20 things, birds, the water, leaves rustling, a car going by.
Let your feet touch the earth.
But also hearing those things helps us hear him.
It does. It connects.
Because we are connected
Nature connects.
to, when she said that last night, I thought, oh wow. And this goes with what, we were talking about today.
Yeah.
And I thought that is so true, because so many times, I don't think we're listening to him all the time.
We're too distracted.
Because we wake up and sometimes a text message wakes us up, or an alarm clock wakes us up.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm notorious for texting early.
Yes, for sure. In fact, I know that you said it for 7:30 the other morning. I was like, she at least gave me till 7:30.
I have to make myself not start texting before a certain time, because we get up, our days start between 3 and 4 a.m. My husband goes to work very early. I've always wanted to be on the same schedule as him.
That's
sweet. So our days start and end relatively at the same time. And so, I've got half the day's work done by the time most people are waking up. And
where the birds wake me up. The chirping outside, which is actually beautiful. I love that. Like, some people say that, I don't understand that. It's like, well, just do it one morning. Sleep in and let that be your alarm clock. And the sweet little sound, actually, I was hearing one right out there. I can hear them now because I pay attention to it. And that was the point of that, is we need to listen to him and for him. Because sometimes we're just going. You pick up your phone, you get on the computer, then it's like, oh no, I've got to run, I've got to go get dinner, I've got to get this prepared, I've got laundry to do, I've got to clean the dishes, there's the list.
Everything is bidding for a piece of us.
And we don't take time. We need to take time and say, hang on a minute. Lord, I need to hear your voice.
That's right.
I need to hear you. And if all you got to do is ask, he will speak when you do.
That's right. But I found that even good things can be distracting. The best of intentions. I'm this weird blend of old school and new tech. Like, there are some things that I'm just
not gonna do it.
Like a paper calendar. I tried for a whole year to use a digital personal calendar. Now, we have a digital calendar for the nonprofit and our family calendar. But I tried a whole year integrating my personal. I got delivered. I went back to the paper calendar this year, but mix that.
I love how you did that. Love how you threw that in there.
But I love using I do a lot of study and research and even Bible reading on my tablet. And it is so easy for me to get distracted, even with a good thing.
Oh, yes.
The resources are endless on my tablet. If I love enduring word commentary. So if I'm reading something, I can just go over there and read what they say there, or blue letter Bible, or even red letter. But all of those resources, but also I can take a passage of scriptures and I can look at it immediately in 6 different translations or paraphrases, and I can just begin to form this deeper connection, this depth of understanding. But if it's so easy.
Oh, those notifications pop up.
There is so easy.
So
before you know it, you've been, or even this. Let me say this. Let me tell you this. Okay, you've had this aha moment, right? You're in the middle of Bible study. I'm not talking about your worship and prayer time, but you're in the middle of your Bible study. And you have this aha moment, so you want to make a cute little Facebook post about it with a cute picture. And before you know it,
I know where you're going.
You're 30 minutes down the road, and
you're like, how did that,
you've been on Facebook for 30 minutes.
Yeah, because you saw something that somebody posted and you're like, oh, and then the next thing you know, you just get lost in it.
And I used to just take myself down this trail of, good grief, again? You stumbled there again. But I've just gotten to the place where I'm like, oh,
You gotta
yes,
forgive.
God, I did it again. Let me get back to it.
And
You
the
know,
thing
it's
is you do. You have to. That's why I said start with forgiveness of forgiving yourself and forgiving who you allowed to validate you, because they're human and said things said things too. But even when we do something like that, instead of I cannot believe I did that, it's like, okay,
I did it. I own it. I'm sorry. Let me get back to it.
Yeah. Let's start over. And 20 minutes later, oh man,
I did it again.
It's like when you burn the biscuits, you know?
Yeah, it just is what it is. And I've come to learn that God is not as concerned with my always getting it right and my perfection. Now, yes, I should honor God in my approach to God, but He is more concerned with my heart posture, with whether or not my life bears His image, with whether or not I'm walking in love and joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. He is far more concerned with all of that than He is about whether I got distracted for 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Which then can
and
potentially lead you down a spiral where you're like, well, good grief, I might as well just go back to bed. And
well, or now your time has passed and you've got to run out the door, and you might even be 5 minutes late to that. That's typically what happens to me. And now I have sat down the whole purpose of what I was doing, because I actually read my Bible like this for that reason. Because I will notoriously be reading and studying, and next thing I know, I've gotten a notification that comes across, or even a text. And if it's from one of the kids, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're going to go get our nails done later, and I'm planning all that. And it's like, here I go. So I've started, when you were talking about your paper calendar, that's why there's notes written in this Bible, because I try to keep it right here so that all those other things that are going on do not take me away from it.
Right. So do you believe that Psalm 8 challenges our entire belief system?
Clearly. Yeah. I mean, and when I was researching, because I wanted to hear other perspectives, it's definitely one of those that, first of all, I've never even thought about until you asked me to come here. I don't know why. So once I started reading about it, I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing. You know, people are reading this and wondering about this. And so for sure. Yeah.
I think the big question that I pull from Psalm 8 is, am I seeing myself through my wounds, or am I seeing myself the way that God sees me? Because I have to see myself the way God sees me. I don't even think although I have capacity to love because I'm created in the image of God, I don't think that I can fully and completely love with biblical love if I don't understand how God loves me. We have to understand who God is, that He is the Creator. He is the Lord of Lords. He is the King of Kings. We have to understand that and settle that in our hearts. We may not understand everything about God, but to settle in our hearts that no matter what, He's the King of Kings.
He is the source.
He's the source. And until we come to that place, we're never going to be able to see ourselves completely as a child of God.
And again, it is always important to remember He is love. God is love.
Absolutely.
So all these things that the world says, well, who are you? You are a Christian and you act like this, or you say this, and it's like, oh, I am a Christian, but I'm forgiven.
Yeah.
Because my God loves me.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a default. But also, with this, I just bowed my head and prayed, like, God, will you reveal to me what you are saying here, and then what you want me to take from this.
Yeah. What do you want? Because He can show you something different every time you look at a scripture.
Oh, that happens. Sometimes that's mind-blowing. I'm like, we could write so many different things off of the same verse or book, because it does. It shows you something different
every single time.
Well, and I was going to say, I read it multiple times at different days just to study, and then last night even revealed to me more, and I'm like, I just love the Bible for that reason.
Yeah, I think the more that I read this and prepared for talking today, I began to realize that when we have flawed ways of thinking, and that includes how we see things,
Mm-hmm.
the filter that we're using, that it can just become default to us. Like, that's just when you're insecure and you feel unworthy and you feel inferior, that just becomes a default response to life.
Everything.
You view everything through that. And so,
and sometimes myself to a point where I will get down on myself. But
I still do it today.
Living in the world that we live in, and having a 46-year-old body that's changing constantly, I say things about my body or myself or my image.
Oh my gosh!
And I've gotten so used to doing it sometimes. But then whenever I think about I'm around my grandchildren, I'm not going to say those things. Why? Because I don't want them to. Because I know deep down God made me to be who I am, and look, He created me perfectly in His eye and in His image. And the world has told me something different, and I need to love myself and honor myself, but also take care of myself.
Well, here's the thing. That's one of the distinctions that God made for me, because it's okay for me, I'm 51, to look in the mirror and see and acknowledge that my body is not 20 years old anymore.
We're changing.
And it's okay to look in that mirror and have things, goals that you want to reach, things you want to change. You might want to change your body composition. That's not what we're talking about. But when we look in the mirror and we're constantly criticizing ourselves,
yes,
yourself is listening. Your soul is listening. And when you're constantly telling yourself that you're not pretty, you're not desirable, you're fat, you're ugly, whatever the narrative is inside your head, when you constantly communicate,
you feel that way.
It becomes your default setting. And you feel it doesn't just stick to how you feel about your body. It plays out in every choice and decision you make, and then
because it rips your confidence.
It does. And then and it is part of stewarding your body well, because to steward our bodies, we're these three-part beings. We're created in the image of God. We have, mind, body, soul, spirit. You can't just focus on the physical and not the spiritual.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole body theology approach to stewarding the temple. And you can't help but see to where seeing yourself correctly through the lens of God, through creation, through who God is, the creator, how that plays into that and how you take care of it.
Yeah. Well, because He gave us that.
Yeah.
Just like He did everything else.
Yeah.
To have dominion over, not to just take and soil away. He wanted us to honor it. And that's why I do think He uses the word crown and glory and honor. Because He wants us to glorify Him, honor Him, but because He loves us so much, He wants us to honor ourselves and our relationships with other people and our homes. And
going back to our bodies are a temple. We know how they cared for the temple and just the preciousness of the temple in the Old Testament. That's us now. And it plays out into, I think, how we steward ourselves emotionally, physically, all of that, spiritually, is going to play out in how we steward other things in our lives, our relationships, our home. The standard we set for our home. Do we allow people to come in and damage our home or destroy our home? I think it just plays out into everything.
Well, and we're always growing. So what you believed or thought yesterday, if you're being convicted today to say, this is who God wants me to be, let that go immediately.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely,
you're constantly learning and growing. That's the beauty of the Bible. You think about all the different stories that were told and how beautiful they are and how unique they are. And some are hard. But on the other side of it, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
All of them, when you think about.
I think anything in life, no matter what happens, it doesn't change who God is. And in any season that we're walking through, if we can just say, God, this isn't good, but I know you're good. Can you help me see? Can you help me have some takeaways from this season? Because right now I can't see how any part of this could bring you glory and honor. How do you get glory and honor out of this? And so when we're walking through those tough seasons, to be able to to say that, to be real with God and go, what do you want to show me?
Right. Reveal it.
Yeah.
And he will.
That's right.
I love that, because he says, if you ask, you will receive.
That's right.
So if you ask him, Lord, search my heart.
Know me.
And tell me, reveal to me.
Yeah.
So that, because I genuinely want a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
I want that purpose that he has for me.
That's right.
To fulfill, because I know that it's good.
That's right.
And even though I fall short a lot, I still go back to him and say, hey, I still want that. Forgive me for, the way I think, or the things that I said, or the things that I did that were keeping me from that. But please reveal to me again, because we'll lose it. We'll lose that, you're driving out, you've got the map, you know where you're going, but you veer off like, oh wait, now how do I get back over there? Lord, please show me how I get back to that. Because you are going to veer.
Lead me in your ways everlasting.
Yes, and you're going to veer off all the time.
That's right.
Like we were talking about earlier, getting distracted. You're going to.
Yeah.
Just ask him.
Yeah.
Because he will. He's going to reveal what he's saying, what he means, and what he has for you.
Well, I think that's a beautiful place for us to wrap this up, because that's ultimately, David knew that.
Yeah.
David knew that it was God who
absolutely
created
without
him,
a shadow of a doubt,
who created him and knit him together, wove him together in the seclusion of his mother's womb. He knew all the details of his life before he had ever taken a first breath, and we can't hide things from God. But I think because of David's posture, his heart posture, and always not being perfect, a man of many failures, some pretty big significant failures in life. And yet his heart was always repentant towards God.
And God was always saying, come on.
That's right. Not just repentant, like he would come to the place of brokenness over his sin.
And haven't you?
Yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key of this. David can't help but look at all of this creation and know that the very God who created that, the beautiful experiences we have, the beautiful skies and mountain ranges and oceans and all the beauty in the world, that same God cares for me, sees me. I'm not invisible. I'm not alone. I'm not God created me. There's only one of me, and he loves me.
And wants you.
And wants me. He chooses me. He chooses covenant. He chooses to remain.
So you're wanted. You are loved.
Not just tolerated.
For sure.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you've enjoyed it. The vision of this podcast has only ever been to have real, honest, raw conversation. Nothing too scripted or polished. Just everyday life. God's girls talking about life and who God is and who he created us to be. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please share and like the page, follow the page, whatever the words are. I don't really know.
Just know we love you and God loves you.
That's it. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.